Hey everyone, uh, here's your new video for the week. This one's going to be potentially, and I don't like to use the word triggering because of its implications and suicides and stuff like that, but I'm going to use it. This one may be triggering, and so you've been warned. If you're in a sensitive mood today, or if you don't want to get upset, then don't watch this video. If you want to get upset and you want to be useful because you're upset, then watch this video. So there's my pause. So if you're still here, be prepared to potentially be upset. So I've been thinking about this for a little bit now. And there's been some stuff in my area out in New England that has happened in regards to first responder suicides in the last, we'll just be general here, 2 to 3 days. Some of you may know what I'm talking about. Some of you may not. Some of you may assume you know what I'm talking about, and others know what I'm talking about. Why are we waiting until we get to change our profile pic in support of what has happened to start doing something about mental health? You see it all the time. And I'm not, I guess in general, I'm not even just talking, first responder suicides or even the first, how about mental health as a whole? We're not talking about this enough to make a big enough change. And then when something major happens in this country, we're all, oh, prayers for this town or prayers for this country or whatever it is, because so many of the things that are happening in our world outside of the first responder realm too are because of mental illness and mental health problems. They are, folks. Whatever your background is, whatever your beliefs and religions are, whatever they are, your opinions, a lot of what is happening in society, both in this country and outside of this country, can be traced back to mental health. I apologize for the pausing. I promised myself I would not come across as stressed out as one of my last raw videos was, because I ended up getting a phone call from someone asking why I was so stressed out and kind of defeated the purpose. So this subject, as many of you know, it's my life. It's what I've been doing, and I've been doing it before it was the cool thing, quote unquote, to do. And it's still very powerful to me, especially when I learn of someone close to home that has lost their battle with their demons. And I guess what bothers me a little bit more is that what has happened recently, again, in my area in New England in the last 2 to 3 days, as a general statement, is not the first one. We've had about 10 first responder, confirmed or unconfirmed, suicides in New England since the beginning of this year, at least. And most of you haven't heard about, which, I get it. But why are we waiting until we get to put up prayers and thoughts? Hey, I'm here for you, brother. Are you? Are you here for that brother? Are you here for that sister? Are you here for that person's family? Oh, now is not a good time to talk. Why is not? Are we going to wait for the next suicide? When's going to be a good time to talk about this, folks? It's not going to go away. And, I have these conversations. This is literally what I do, both for work and what I choose to do, I guess, is my legacy. However you want to look at it, with everything that I do. I've had the conversations where maybe it's because of technology and the fact that, you can't fart out in Idaho without someone in Connecticut knowing you did so, because of social media and everything else and how connected with each other we are, that maybe that's why we're finding out there's so many suicides. But for those that don't know, 45 to 48,000 people in this country each year kill themselves. And I haven't done the math in a little bit, but first responders and veterans account for about 7,500 of those. Now, if you look at the population of this country, veterans and first responders account for about 1.5% of the overall population. If you take all the first responders, active first responders, and military, we account for about 1.5. It may be a percent, a quarter of a percent higher or lower, but the number of suicides that we account for, I mean, do the math. What's 7,500 of 4,500? That's a lot. It doesn't add up, right? Why are we waiting till we can change our profile pic or put up a post that a lot of people haven't put up until this moment, which I'm grateful for? I mean, I think more people that put up posts about this stuff, the better, but why are we waiting until that moment? Why aren't we reaching out? And I love this saying, we had no idea. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. There is almost always, 99% of the time, there is almost always some sort of indication that that person is in pain. We all work with that asshole. Do people out there honestly think that, people who are assholes are just inherently born evil? Oh, he's a prick. He must be a spawn of Satan. No, it's probably because he has unresolved, or she has unresolved trauma, or is hurting. Maybe we start talking then. And instead of when we ask someone who is obviously in pain, hey, how you doing? I'm good. Cool, man. See you at lunch. No, you're not good. If I'm asking you if you're good, you're not. And I'm as guilty for a lot of this as a lot of you. I'm not trying to point the finger. I love all of you, especially my first responder family. I do. I love all you guys. But we suck at talking. And what has been happening recently, if any of you are paying attention, not just in New England, across this country, we are sucking at talking. We have to start talking. And really, the conversations in the speaking about this is where it's at. This is where we're going to cut some of this off. And I can tell you that from experience. And most of you know my backstory. I'm not going to go blow for blow in detail by this, but for those that don't know, I've been down this road since I was a kid. The job made it worse because it built up those thousands more traumas, right? I've had my own 6 suicide attempts. I can tell you right now that there was always a sign. There was always something that people were picking up on that they didn't properly approach. And it is 2022, folks. You can do a Google search on your damn watch right now. If you do not know about PTSD or complex, to tell you what, here's one that'll blow your hair back. Look up complex PTSD versus PTSD. It is different. It is different, but yet the DSM-5 or whatever number they're on doesn't accept it as a separate thing yet. Some different manuals do, and that's the whole psychological thing that I'm not going to get into because I'm not a doctor or a shrink. But complex PTSD, which we're finding a lot of first responders have that versus traditional PTSD, is a whole nother animal. But if you look up a Google search, instead of spending 6 hours bitching at your neighbor because they have a different political opinion, you will be able to educate yourself on what some of the signs and symptoms are. What some of the things to look out for. What are the typical behaviors with this? I reach out to people pretty frequently. I hear of things happening all over the place. New England is my sort of thing, but I talk to people all over this country. And I just had a conversation with someone over the weekend asking how their loved one was after something they had went through. And they asked me, they said they're doing okay, but what should I look out for? Great question. Great question. What should you look out for? Changes in behavior is a big one, but what is a change in behavior? I mean, my behavior changed when I first had a kid back when I was 22. Right? That's a change of behavior, but is it a sign of something? Nah, probably not. It's probably just a sign that I don't have as much freedom in my life, right? Removal from the things you love doing. Diving headfirst into work and picking up and just being nothing but work. I know that sounds kind of weird with the first responder world, but our work and our jobs and the fact that a lot of us will work 60 to 80 to 100 hours a week is a distraction from what is going on in our heads, from the unresolved trauma, from the pain we're going through. A lot of times it is a distraction from that. I'm not saying it is all the time. And there are first responders. I have several friends who are able to navigate their life, personal and professional, that have processed what they have been through very well. I'm not saying this is everyone, but there's a lot more of us that are affected by this, mental health issues and especially PTSD and complex PTSD than some of you may be aware of. And I just want to say, my apologies. This will not be, we're already at over 10 minutes. So this will not be a shorter video. This will probably be closer to 20 minutes. And I apologize, but I am a little amped up. And for the most part, I don't get any slack from anyone because of what I do, but a lot of what I do goes unheard, I feel. And I'm not the only one doing it, but there's not a lot of us. When it comes to, like, for those of you that follow me and pay attention when I do, there's not a lot of us that are this transparent and this raw and go after the stigma like I do and some of the other, people up there. I'm not going to name names because it's just not fair to people I don't name. But there's not a lot of us. There's not, that I know of, that are out there on social media that are putting out videos, that are going to conferences and speaking their personal story. That there isn't, and that's okay. It works. But the rest of you out there, we do need to be having this conversation. For those that have been on the job a while, and I guess this is more for the firefighters, right? For those that have been on the job 20 plus years. Yeah, remember what the 90s was like when it came to dirty gear? That was the way to be. If your gear wasn't dirty, you've never seen a fire, which wasn't pretty much not the case because the 90s we had a lot of fires. But if your gear wasn't dirty and your helmet wasn't melted around your head and your flash hood wasn't nasty and you didn't walk out of a building every single time with soot on your face, you weren't a real firefighter. Now, guess what? All those guys have cancer or are all getting screened for cancer. Cool. That's fun. That's a lot of fun, but we've changed that, right? So the C word, as they used to call it, and again, not the C word some of you may be thinking of, was scary. And why was it scary? Because we weren't educated. We didn't know. We now know a lot more. People are more supportive of it. People are more aware of it. People are more educated. Your doctor talks to you about it. Now, even if you're not a first responder, your doctor will talk to you about cancer. We need to be doing this with mental health because we all have a brain. Yeah, for the most part, almost anyone can get cancer, but a lot of it has to do with your chemical makeup, heredity, lifestyle, stuff like that, right? We all have a brain. We all have a psyche. We all experience shit. The world we live in, the world we lived in pretty much since 9/11 has not been a really great one. So even if you're not a first responder, you're being inundated with shit we didn't get inundated with 20 years ago. And if you're a first responder, especially since this pandemic kicked off 2 years ago, the shit you people are seeing and being exposed to, especially the amount of disregard and disrespect first responders, especially law enforcement, are getting, and I don't want to get into that, but is horrendous. The amount of stress that the first responder community is being put under right now is a trauma in and itself. And it comes down to lack of education. It comes down to not knowing. If you don't know, you don't know. You don't know what you don't know, right? So get to know it. There is a really good chance that every single person out there will be affected by mental health issues or PTSD or suicide somehow. Whether it's your neighbor, whether it's your brother, your sister, your mother, your father, you, one of your coworkers, 5 of your coworkers. We will all have some sort of personal experience somehow at some point in our lives with mental health. So why aren't we educating ourselves? Why is it so scary? I mean, I get it. And I guess I can't be on the outside looking in because I've been dealing with this since I was a kid. And so I had a different take on it going into the job. But again, it is 2022. Most of you don't even have to leave your house in order to function because you can literally have everything you need in life brought to your house, delivered to your house. You can pay all your bills online. A lot of people work from home now. So take 15 minutes, take a half hour every day and educate yourself on some mental health stuff. It's really not that bad. You may gain some respect for those in your life. You may gain some perspective on your own life. Because in the end of the day, you may get, and if you're a first responder, you may already have this stuff going on and you're denying it because you're compensating, at least you think you are. You don't talk to your wife, you work 80 hours a week, you're not fighting with your wife, and maybe you're not blasting through a six-pack every 20 minutes. But maybe that's what's going on. So why aren't you talking to your wife? And this is just an example. This is an example. This is not every case. And it could be you're not talking to your husband, and I get that. And I'm not, whatever. But why? There's got to be a reason, right? So much of the issues in life, so many of the problems in society can be directly traced back to mental health. And we're, as a society, as a culture in the first responder world, public safety, we are so stuck in an older mindset, a large percentage, not everyone, so stuck in not talking about it until we get to change our Facebook profile. And then a bunch of people who think we know this person reach out, oh, I'm sorry for your loss. Most of the time, I don't know personally the people that have ended their life. I don't. And for the most part, no, I don't change my profile pic. And for me, that's because I do this stuff every day. It's no lack of respect for these people. It's no whatever. But if I did that, I'd be changing my profile pic every 3 hours, every single day, because that's how many first responders are dying. And actually, I wouldn't even be able to keep up with it. I wouldn't be able to keep up with the profile pic changes I would have to do. Folks, it's just talking about it. Why aren't departments? Let me ask you this. We sit down at the kitchen table at the firehouse. I know firehouse, cops, you got to eat in your cruisers, and it's usually takeout. You don't get to have the lavish meals we have in the firehouse. You can be jealous. It's okay. We sit down at the kitchen table in the firehouse 2, 3 meals, if calls allow, right? If calls allow. Or we do ramp talk. We do back step talk. We do bumper talk, whatever we want to call it. How many times a day? How many times a shift? How many times a tour? Why are we, as a crew, as a group, as a shift, why aren't we having these conversations? Hey guys, we started our shift today with a dead baby. We went and pulled grandma out of a burnt row house, and then we did a wreck where a husband and wife died. I know that's not every tour, but why are we having, and this is, I know some departments do, so I'm not, if your department does, awesome, share it, put it in the comments. Hey, my department does that. Awesome, you'll get a thumbs up from me. That's great. Share the wealth. Teach other departments how to do that. Teach your brothers and sisters on the job how to do that. But why aren't we doing it? You can argue that maybe there's not enough time in the day, but there is. There is. We need to make time. We're losing our members. We're not retaining our members, and we're not getting new members in the door. Not like we used to, folks. When I was getting into the fire service, there was waiting lists. And not just for the big departments. Now, statewide tests, city tests, they're not getting the full applicants they used to. Down 60%, 50%. People are leaving the job at 20 years as opposed to 30 plus. Why is that? I think it's because they don't like the job anymore. I think it's because the job sucks. This is the best job in the world. I can say that, and I will never, more than likely, never be a frontline firefighter or an EMT ever again in my life. And it is the best job in the world. Think about what you get to do, but then think about what you do. We see horrible shit day in and day out. 365, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. We see the worst of society. So why aren't we just talking about it? It's that simple. And why are we shaming the ones who need to talk about it? Why are we shaming the ones who end up having problems? Oh, they're the problem guy in this shift. Don't go to him. And you may be the strongest, the most willing to take on a test, the first one in that door, the last one out of that door, the first one to volunteer to do whatever at the station or whatever it is. But if you have problems, a lot of people shame you. Why are we shaming them? They got a brain. They've been exposed to shit for God knows how long, repeatedly, for years, potentially, in some cases, decades. Why are we shaming them? In a way, that should be a badge of honor. Holy shit, you've been affected by this. You're a human being. Congratulations. You have emotions and feelings. That's awesome. And up until I was 40, I didn't really know what the fuck a feeling was. I thought being angry was the way to go because I didn't know what the hell being scared was or being sad was, because it was ingrained in my brain that that wasn't allowed. But then I got shamed out because I was just an angry, unapproachable prick. Well, why was I an angry, unapproachable prick? And I'm not the only person who's been through this. I have several friends and contacts all over this country that a lot of times when I share this stuff, whether it's through this, videos like this or a post, that they're like, holy shit, man, you're telling my story. But why am I telling your story? Why are we shaming? I don't. I know a lot of you out there, a lot of you are supportive of this, and there's like a hesitancy to be very vocal about your support of this, and I get that because of the shame that comes with it. Still, there is quite a bit of shame still with this, and I guess in a way I'm almost looking for maybe input, maybe because I can't be an outside person. I can't be unbiased, biased. I can't, because I've dealt with mental health issues and trauma my whole life. I guess I can't be that person looking in at it. However, there's other things that I can look at that haven't affected my life, whatever it is, some medical conditions or ways of living, or however it is, rich or poor, whatever it is, that I wasn't privy to, that I can look at, and I still accept it. I still understand that it can be a thing, and I don't shame people for being that way or going through that or living that way or believing that or whatever it is. So why are we doing it with mental health where we can all be affected by it? We're first responders. And again, this is bringing it back to just first responders and public safety, where we see bad things, horrible things. And we're in 2022, we're still not accepting of that. And I encourage everyone, and this is really for your own education and your own growth. Do a Google search. I don't care if you look at Wikipedia. They're horrible, but go to Mayo Clinic, go to McLean's, go to any site that will give you information. Go to the VA site and look up PTSD stuff. Educate yourself. Take 15 minutes out of your day. Do some research. You could save someone's life. You could save your own life. And I understand that suicide is a choice, and that's gonna sting with some people. It is a choice, and it's not an easy. It doesn't mean it's an easy choice. And I'm going to kind of wrap up with this for those of you that think that suicide is a sign of weakness, or suicide is an easy out, easy choice. When you lay down a plan and you have decided that your life is no longer worth living because you do not want to be in pain anymore, and when you make that attempt, there is this moment of euphoria where you feel like it worked. And obviously I've had 6 attempts. They obviously failed because I'm here. So I'm coming from my perspective for the most part, but I've talked to a lot of other people. I've talked to family members of people who have succeeded and ended their life. There is a sense of euphoric release of freedom for, it may be a split second, it may be minutes, if that pain's over, that grief, that shame is over. But then, and I can speak from my attempts when they haven't worked, then the absolute scariest feeling that you have ever experienced in your life takes that over. Because you just realized you tried to end your life. And if you haven't, and this is not an encouragement to try. If you haven't had a suicide attempt, then you have no idea what that fear is. And for anyone that has, I will always say that they are not the weakest people out there, especially if they have picked their shit up and come back at life full bore. Anyone that can face that fear, that terrifying feeling right after a suicide attempt and bounce back and kick the shit out of life and live on and heal, they are some of the strongest people you will ever meet. And I strongly encourage, if you know someone who has had a suicide attempt, who is still alive and who's still functioning, that you talk to them. You could gain so much strength from that person, because the fear you face immediately following a suicide attempt is unlike anything else in life. So bringing it back, I don't want to be all intense and sad and shit at the end of this video. Let's talk about things. I'm open to talking to anyone. For those of you who watch my stuff and follow me and comment and reach out to me, blah, 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 reach out to me. I can come out to departments. I'm putting out videos and that's great, but I can come out and do presentations. I know people who will come out and do presentations. Let's talk about this stuff. Yeah, they can be powerful and raw, and they can be like, holy shit, I should have wore a diaper today because I'm going to crap myself. But they don't have to be. I do what I do because I know how to drive a point home. Let's try to help each other, especially in the first responder community, folks. And this, I apologize. I went even further in 20 minutes. I'm at 27. I apologize. But I want you people to try to help me make a change here. We all can do this. And instead of complaining and asking why and everything, why don't we start changing it right now? And the only thing you got to do to change it is talk about it. That's it. There's no investment. There's no money needed. Talk about it. Talk about it with your family. Talk about it with yourself. Talk about it with your crews. Talk about it with the chiefs. Talk about it with your neighbors. Talk about it. The only way this is going to change is if we start talking about it. So there we're at. 28 minutes, a little over. By the time I wrap this up, probably 28, 29 minutes. Folks, follow me on the different social media stuff. Follow me on I did do a YouTube channel. We're trying to build up the videos, trying to figure out, a little bit more enjoyable stuff, editing things that I'm not good with because I'm not good with technology at all. Just let me know, comment, share, reach out to me. I'll talk to you. Sometimes I don't get right back to people, but I get back to everyone. I love you all. Be safe. Talk about it. Have a good day.